Why didn't anyone attack Portugal during World War II? Despite being a small country surrounded by powerful, warring nations, Portugal managed to maintain its neutrality throughout the conflict. But it wasn't just luck. From being a hotbed of espionage to strategically leveraging its resources and navigating complex diplomatic waters, Portugal played a surprisingly active role behind the scenes. Welcome to Armchair Archaeology. Today, we'll uncover how this often overlooked nation maneuvered through one of history's most dangerous periods. Stay with us to the end, where we'll reveal a surprising way Portugal's neutrality impacted the outcome of the war that you probably never knew. During World War II, neutral Portugal became an unexpected epicenter of espionage. Lisbon, the nation's capital, was one of the few places in Europe where agents from both the Axis and Allied powers could operate relatively freely. The city's bustling port, open borders, and neutral stance made it a critical hub for intelligence gathering and covert operations. But why was Lisbon so attractive to spies? The city served as a key transit point for people fleeing the war, providing cover for intelligence operatives. Cafes, hotels, and casinos became venues for clandestine meetings, where agents exchanged information and made deals. British intelligence, including MI6, and the American OSS used Lisbon as a base to coordinate the smuggling of refugees, gather intelligence on Axis movements, and even sabotage Nazi operations. The German Abwehr, meanwhile, was equally active, monitoring Allied activities and spreading disinformation. What many don't know is how closely Portuguese authorities, particularly the secret police known as WWII, monitored these activities. Salazar's regime walked a tightrope, keeping tabs on both sides while maintaining the country's official neutrality. This delicate balance was crucial in preventing either side from gaining too much influence within Portugal's borders. The espionage war in Portugal wasn't just about spy versus spy. It was also a silent battleground for influence and control. By providing a neutral ground for these covert operations, Portugal managed to stay out of direct conflict while subtly impacting the broader war effort. This fascinating chapter in World War II history shows that even small, neutral nations could play a significant role in the shadowy world of wartime intelligence. Portugal's neutrality during World War II was far from guaranteed. In 1940, Nazi Germany developed a plan known as Operation Felix, which included invading the Iberian Peninsula to seize Gibraltar from the British and potentially occupy Portugal if necessary. The strategic aim was to control the Atlantic and Mediterranean, key areas for securing supply routes and military advantage. So, how did Portugal manage to avoid this dire fate? The answer lies in a combination of diplomatic maneuvering and external circumstances. António de Oliveira Salazar, Portugal's authoritarian leader, understood the precarious position his country was in. He leveraged Portugal's long-standing alliance with Britain, dating back to the 14th century, to dissuade German aggression. At the same time, he appeased Germany by allowing the export of Wolfram, a crucial mineral for the Nazi war machine. This dual strategy kept Germany at bay without alienating the Allies. A crucial factor in derailing Operation Felix was Spain's reluctance to participate. Francisco Franco, Spain's dictator, had recently emerged from a brutal civil war and was wary of further conflict. He refused to allow German troops to pass through Spain, a necessary step for any successful invasion of Portugal. This hesitation effectively stalled the operation before it could begin. Salazar's delicate balancing act between appeasing the Axis and maintaining his alliance with Britain ensured that Portugal did not become a battlefield. His diplomatic skill, combined with the logistical difficulties faced by Germany and Spain's stance, led to the abandonment of Operation Felix. This episode illustrates how careful diplomacy and the ability to navigate complex political landscapes were crucial in preserving Portugal's sovereignty during a time when neutrality was a fragile and dangerous position to hold. The Azores, a Portuguese archipelago in the mid-Atlantic, played a crucial role in World War II. Both the Allies and Axis powers coveted the islands for their strategic value in controlling transatlantic sea and air routes. Their central position made them a pivotal base for military operations and logistical support. But why were they so important? And how did Portugal keep control? For the Allies, the Azores provided a perfect location for anti-submarine warfare against German U-boats that were wreaking havoc on Allied shipping convoys. The islands allowed the Allies to extend the range of their air patrols, protecting vital supply routes between North America and Europe. The air bases established on the islands greatly increased the effectiveness of convoy protection and allowed for quicker response times to submarine threats. Germany, too, understood the strategic importance of the Azores and included them in its plans for Operation Felix, which aimed to seize both Gibraltar and the Azores. However, logistical challenges, Spain's reluctance to participate, and Portugal's diplomatic maneuvering prevented Germany from acting on this plan. Salazar, recognizing the island's importance, skillfully negotiated with the Allies. In 1943, he allowed British and American forces to establish bases on the islands under the guise of the centuries-old Anglo-Portuguese Alliance, while still officially maintaining Portugal's neutrality. This arrangement allowed Portugal to contribute to the Allied war effort without openly entering the conflict. By maintaining control over the Azores and avoiding direct involvement in the war, Portugal showed that even small, neutral nations could have a significant impact on the outcome of global conflicts. Portugal's geographical position on the Iberian Peninsula made its neutrality during World War II especially precarious. Flanked by Spain, under Franco's pro-Axis regime, and caught between the Axis and Allied powers, Portugal's leader, António Salazar, had to navigate an incredibly delicate diplomatic landscape. How did he manage to keep Portugal out of the war? One of Salazar's main concerns was Spain. While Spain did not officially join the Axis, Franco's regime leaned toward Nazi Germany, which posed a significant threat to Portugal. To ensure that Spain did not join the war and potentially involve Portugal in the conflict, Salazar maintained diplomatic and economic ties with Franco, offering subtle support to keep Spain neutral. This diplomatic maneuver helped prevent German troops from being stationed in Spain, which could have easily led to an invasion of Portugal. At the same time, Salazar leveraged Portugal's historic Anglo-Portuguese alliance with Britain, which dated back centuries. This alliance provided a safeguard against Axis aggression, as any attack on Portugal could prompt British intervention. Salazar skillfully balanced relations between the Allies and Axis, ensuring Portugal could cooperate with both without alienating either side. Domestically, Salazar used the Estado Novo regime's control over the press to reinforce Portugal's stance of neutrality. Propaganda emphasized the country's role as a peaceful, stable haven in a war-torn Europe, helping to maintain public unity and support for his diplomatic policies. Salazar's ability to balance these competing pressures, managing relations with Franco's Spain, maintaining ties with Britain, and keeping Germany at bay, was key to keeping Portugal neutral throughout the war. His deft diplomacy ensured that Portugal avoided becoming a battlefield, even as much of Europe fell to conflict. Wolfram, also known as tungsten, became a critical economic and diplomatic asset for Portugal during World War II. This mineral, vital for hardening steel and producing military equipment, like armor-piercing shells, was in high demand by both the Allies and the Axis. Portugal, with its large deposits of wolfram, found itself in a powerful but precarious position. Its resources could influence the outcome of the war, but only if Salazar played his cards right. Recognizing the strategic importance of Wolfram, Salazar allowed both sides to purchase the mineral from Portugal, thus securing valuable income for the country while maintaining its neutral stance. However, the Allies soon realized that Wolfram exports to Nazi Germany were directly fueling the German war machine. German industry relied heavily on Wolfram to manufacture weapons, making Portugal's supply vital to the Nazi war effort. This sparked what became known as the Wolfram War, a series of covert economic battles between Allied and Axis agents to secure Portugal's supply. Both sides resorted to bribery, sabotage, and competitive bidding to gain control of the precious mineral. While Salazar maintained official neutrality, he used the profits from the trade to strengthen Portugal's economy during the war. By 1944, however, Allied pressure increased, and Salazar was forced to curtail Wolfram sales to Germany. This action dealt a significant blow to Nazi military production at a crucial stage of the war. It also signaled Portugal's quiet shift towards supporting the Allied cause without abandoning its official stance of neutrality. The Wolfram trade exemplifies how Portugal, though neutral, played a critical role in the economic warfare of World War II. By strategically managing this resource, Salazar kept Portugal neutral while subtly aiding the Allies and avoiding direct conflict. Although Portugal was officially neutral during World War II, behind the scenes, it engaged in complex diplomatic negotiations with both the Allies and the Axis. These secret dealings allowed Salazar to protect Portuguese sovereignty and navigate the turbulent wartime landscape without provoking either side into aggressive action. One of the most significant outcomes of this diplomacy was the 1943 agreement with the Allies to use the Azores as a base for military operations. The Allies desperately needed these islands for anti-submarine patrols and transatlantic air routes. However, Salazar had to tread carefully, ensuring that this cooperation didn't alienate Germany, which might have responded with military force. By framing the agreement within the context of the ancient Anglo-Portuguese Alliance, Salazar provided the Allies with what they needed while maintaining Portugal's neutral stance. At the same time, Salazar kept diplomatic channels open with Germany, reassuring the Nazis that Portugal's cooperation with the Allies was limited and defensive. This delicate balance was essential. Any misstep could have resulted in German retaliation or invasion. Diplomatic efforts extended beyond Europe as well. In Asia, Portugal's colony of Macau was located within Japanese-occupied territory. Salazar managed to maintain Portuguese control over Macau throughout the war by negotiating a neutral stance with Japan, preventing a military takeover of the colony. Salazar's secret diplomacy reveals the intricate balancing act required to keep Portugal neutral while quietly supporting the Allied cause. Through calculated negotiations with both sides, Portugal avoided the devastating consequences of war, preserving its sovereignty and its colonies, and securing its place on the post-war global stage. The Anglo-Portuguese Alliance, established in 1373, is the longest-standing diplomatic alliance in history, and it played a crucial role in Portugal's ability to navigate World War II. This centuries-old relationship with Britain allowed Portugal to remain officially neutral, while subtly supporting the Allies, providing a protective buffer against Axis aggression. From the outset of the war, Britain saw the strategic importance of Portugal, especially the Azores. Control of these islands would enable the Allies to protect transatlantic shipping routes and combat the U-boat menace that was crippling supply convoys. Instead of seizing the islands by force, Britain invoked the ancient alliance to negotiate with Salazar for access to the Azores, securing vital military bases without breaking Portuguese neutrality. In 1943, after careful negotiation, Salazar agreed to allow the Allies to use the Azores under the terms of the Anglo-Portuguese Alliance. This cooperation was crucial to the Allied war effort, improving their ability to detect and destroy German U-boats. The Azores became a hub for air and naval operations, shifting the balance in the Atlantic and enabling smoother transport of troops and supplies between North America and Europe. For Portugal, the alliance acted as a deterrent against any potential German aggression. Germany knew that attacking Portugal could trigger British intervention, something they could not afford. Salazar skillfully used the alliance to maintain Portugal's independence while providing strategic support to the Allies. The Anglo-Portuguese Alliance helped Portugal protect its sovereignty during the war and ensured that it played a quiet but critical role in the Allied victory. This historic bond allowed Portugal to navigate World War II's challenges while preserving its neutrality and maintaining its global position. During World War II, Portugal's vast colonial empire, spread across Africa, Asia, and South America, posed both an opportunity and a challenge. As a neutral nation, Portugal had to ensure that its colonies weren't drawn into the conflict, while safeguarding them from potential invasion or occupation by the warring powers. In Africa, Portugal's colonies of Angola and Mozambique bordered British and French territories, making them strategic assets. Salazar took steps to reinforce their neutrality, increasing military presence and securing agreements with neighboring Allied colonies to avoid confrontations. These colonies remained relatively stable during the war, despite occasional tensions over resources and trade routes. In Asia, the situation was more precarious. Portugal's colony of Macau was surrounded by Japanese-controlled territory in China. Salazar engaged in delicate negotiations with Japan to ensure that Macau remained under Portuguese control throughout the war. By maintaining a low profile and emphasizing neutrality, Salazar prevented Japanese forces from occupying the colony, a remarkable feat given the aggressive expansion of Japanese forces in the region. Goa, Portugal's colony in India, was also at risk, but like Macau, it was spared invasion through careful diplomacy. Salazar's focus on maintaining neutrality and protecting Portuguese sovereignty kept these distant territories from becoming battlegrounds in the global conflict. Despite pressure from both the Allies and Axis powers, Salazar's diplomatic skill ensured that Portugal's colonies remained neutral and intact. By preserving his empire, Salazar not only protected Portugal's global influence, but also positioned the nation for a smoother post-war recovery compared to other colonial powers that had to rebuild. During the tumultuous years of World War II, Portugal became an unexpected sanctuary for thousands of refugees fleeing Nazi persecution. Despite its official neutrality, the country's strategic location at the edge of Western Europe made it a critical escape route for those seeking to flee the horrors of war. From Jews escaping the Holocaust to political dissidents, intellectuals, and artists, Portugal provided a lifeline for many. Lisbon, in particular, was known as the City of Light during these dark times. It became a cosmopolitan hub where refugees from all over Europe gathered in the hope of securing passage to safety. The city's ports and airports served as gateways to freedom, with many refugees heading to the Americas. While Portugal maintained strict immigration policies, numerous Portuguese diplomats defied official orders to help refugees. One of the most famous examples is Aristides de Sousa Mendes, the Portuguese consul in Bordeaux, who issued thousands of visas to Jews and others escaping Nazi-occupied Europe. His actions, which were later condemned by the Salazar regime, saved countless lives and stand as a testament to Portugal's role in the humanitarian efforts of the time. The influx of refugees also brought significant economic and social challenges to Portugal, which was already dealing with wartime shortages. Nevertheless, the country's position as a neutral safe haven made it a crucial stopover for those escaping the war's devastation. Portugal's role as a refuge during World War II is often overlooked, but remains a vital part of its legacy. Despite its neutrality, Portugal's actions saved lives and provided hope in one of history's darkest periods. Portugal's neutrality during World War II had long-lasting economic consequences that shaped its post-war future. While much of Europe was devastated by the conflict, Portugal emerged with its infrastructure intact and its economy relatively stable, allowing it to capitalize on its wartime position. One of the key benefits of neutrality was the ability to trade with both the Allies and the Axis. Portugal's strategic sale of Wolfram, a vital resource for military production, generated significant revenue during the war. These profits helped stabilize the Portuguese economy and allowed for investment in infrastructure, transportation, and industry, positioning Portugal for post-war modernization. However, neutrality also reinforced the authoritarian Estado Novo regime under Salazar. The economic stability achieved during the war gave Salazar greater control over the country, delaying political reforms and entrenching his rule. While other European nations were democratizing and rebuilding after the war, Portugal remained under authoritarian rule, isolated from the broader political changes sweeping through Europe. In the long run, Portugal's economic gains from wartime neutrality were tempered by the regime's reluctance to modernize politically. The benefits of economic stability came at the cost of prolonged authoritarianism, and it wasn't until the Carnation Revolution of 1974 that Portugal transitioned to a democracy. Portugal's wartime neutrality, while economically advantageous, had a complex legacy. It preserved the country's infrastructure and economy, but delayed the political reforms necessary for its eventual integration into the modern world. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey through Portugal's unique role during World War II. From espionage to diplomacy, and from protecting its empire to providing refuge, Portugal's neutrality was anything but passive. Despite immense pressures from both Axis and Allied powers, Portugal preserved its sovereignty and subtly shaped the course of the war. And now, here's the surprising fact we promised. Did you know that during the height of the war, Portugal became one of the largest suppliers of diamonds to both sides? While Wolfram is often discussed, few realize that the Portuguese colony of Angola provided industrial diamonds, which were vital for war production. These diamonds were used in precision tools and machinery, essential for building aircraft, tanks, and other military equipment. By allowing controlled access to this resource, Portugal's neutrality quietly fueled the engines of war on both sides. And Marshit's economic play that had far-reaching impacts on the war's technological advancements. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please support our channel, Armchair Archaeology, by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing for more captivating explorations of history. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated on our next adventure. What overlooked aspects of World War II or other historical periods would you like us to explore next? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and let your curiosity guide you.